back from the stadium, back from living the high life in corporate. He said, my uncle said before the game, it's going to be like having your last meal on the Titanic. Was it quite like that today?
It was how the Titanic was supposed to be intended. Unsinkable. That is going to be Ange's tenure.
You set him off now.
Come on, boy.
So you were 2 gilt-edged chances from Alkmaar from being Ange out.
Absolutely, but they didn't score, and I think we deserved the win at the end of the day. I thought we were the better team,
absolutely.
Especially before Van de Ven went off. I thought they had barely anything, to be honest. RZ, they were really struggling to create any sort of opportunity. I thought Parrott, completely different to how he was last game when in Alkmaar he was kind of able to bully Gray a bit. As soon as he comes up against Romero and Van de Ven, had absolutely nothing. He was shitting his pants. And I thought Romero was completely dominating him, had him in his pocket. Van de Ven mopping up everything. What a difference those two make. I thought in the first half especially, those two were just our best players by far. And I thought it was just, you can just see it's night and day. Having a stable partnership, having that quality at centre-back, what a difference it makes to our backline. All of a sudden, in that first half, you're looking at the comparison to how we started games in the previous few weeks. I know we didn't create loads in that first half, especially in the first half an hour. But I think the main positive I took away from that first half was how much we didn't give up, how many chances RZ didn't have. And that's just been such a stark contrast to what we've seen from Spurs, especially since Van de Ven and Romero have been missing. I know they both of them had a part to play on the weekend and we still gave up chances, but I think having those minutes in their legs, they look so much more confident, comfortable tonight. And RZ, pretty much before the last knockings when Gray was on and obviously Davis came on, it maybe unsettled the back line a bit, and they had a few scary moments, but by and large, for the first hour especially, RZ just didn't have a kick, and that is just the difference two quality centre-backs can make.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like when you're looking at those two's performances specifically, you're looking at Romero was gobbling everything up in the air. You look at Van de Ven was gobbling everything up on the ground. It was just a joy to behold. And Van de Ven's performance from the weekend to tonight was night and day. But when Van de Ven did go off, you saw that RZ were able to create chances. They were able to get in behind us. So it's all about, particularly Van de Ven, just wrapping him in cotton wool for every Europa League game, because we cannot afford for this guy to get injured and not play any of these Europa League games, because you saw just in that game today how pivotal he was to us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that's why the Danso injury is so gutting, because I'm 100% sure that Danso would have started ahead of Van de Ven on Sunday. Now, with him injured, I think probably he'll go with Romero and Davis or Romero and Gray. It was quite interesting he went for Gray over Davis on this occasion, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought with Van de Ven going off, Davis would be called upon, but he went for Gray, which was a bit surprising, but I completely agree. The difference in level of this back line when Van de Ven's able to just sweep up in behind, he's just such a cheat code when they've got that ball in behind and there's a run on between the defender and the attacker. You just know as soon as Van de Ven puts the afterburners on, it's game over. It's over, and that's it. So I thought Van de Ven was so great to have that partnership back. And it was also interesting. He went for, obviously, Spence left back over Udogie, because Udogie hasn't started the last two. But obviously, it was the right call, because I thought Spence, again, had a great game, had his hand in the third goal as well. I thought he got the kind of lineup absolutely spot on, to be fair, Ange Postecoglou. And I thought we started to see, I don't think it was the perfect performance. I don't think we were at our very, very best. But I think you could see we're getting better. I really believe that. And I think you can see green shoots again of how Ange wants to play. And you can see kind of a lot of positives on the basis of we got the first goal from the pressing through Son. The third goal came from kind of that build-up play, which we know Ange is trying to drill into these players very fast, very direct, and that kind of got us our third goal as well. I thought Maddison came into his own in that second half. I thought Son was kind of a bit more relentless on this occasion. What was great about Odegaard was obviously it was brilliant to see him kind of dribble past a few players and do all those kind of things, which we know Odegaard can do. But what the big thing is, how effective can he be in the final third? Can he do what Johnson does, which is arriving at the back post at the right time to get those tap-ins, get those goals? And that's exactly what he did. And he took that first goal amazingly well on his left foot. top corner, brilliant finish. And I think that was obviously made a big difference. Solanke up front, I think he actually had a fairly quiet game for large parts, but I think he kind of, when he was in the game, he made such a difference, and what a difference he made for those 2 assists he got. That first assist, I think a lot of strikers will probably take a shot from that position when they see the goal open up. But he had the presence of mind to just lay it off for Odegaard for the goal, and a brilliant flick, and can't be underestimated. Getting that flick on for the third goal as well to get it to Odegaard for the tap in. So
you asked first, go on.
Did he mean it?
Yeah.
He meant to get the flick, whether he meant to get it to Odegaard.
See, Sim knows. He knows.
Was it a shot or a pass?
I think he was speculating to accumulate. You know what I mean? Just get the touch
basically,
on,
he was trying to shoot
see
and
where it ends up. You know when you have a player who does
it flicked rightly, perfectly for Odegaard, who was right in the right place at the right time.
You know when you have a player on the side, he does a cross come shot. You know, he kind of gets in the area to see if it either goes in or maybe someone taps it in. I think that's kind of what he was.
Not like
I don't know if he meant it perfectly
last weekend.
Yeah, not like Pape Sarr, who most definitely meant it for sure.
Sim, I want to ask you a question, right? You said earlier about like the energy of Spurs and how he wants how that third goal kind of shows how we want to play, right? My question is, do you think that our players can actually perform at that level or even higher every single week in, week out, regardless of who's playing? Because that's
the question. Yeah. That's the $1 million question. I mean, obviously we haven't seen it, so I can't sit here and say that we can definitely do it. But I definitely think, I think the big problem is obviously earlier in the season, I think we were doing it fairly consistently, but the big problem was we weren't doing it kind of when we had Thursday, Sunday games. We were doing it when we had like 3 weeks and stuff. But when we had Thursday, Sunday, we were doing it well on the Thursday. Then with that Sunday game, for whatever reason, we dropped in intensity. But when we had like a free week, we seemed to be like playing quite well. And then obviously the injury crisis happened, and we tried to keep playing with this kind of high intensity, high tempo kind of football, and we just weren't able to keep up with it with the level of players we had available to us and the amount they had to play. And that was really hampering us. And obviously we dropped like an absolute stone at that point, and that's why we're 13th in the league. The big thing for me is, to win this competition, do they have to do it every week, or do they just have to do it when we come up on a Thursday against these European oppositions? I think that's kind of the goal from now to the end of the season, is to do it consistent enough in these European games that we see what he's capable of. And then in next season, if we do really well in this Europa League, hopefully if we do as well as we're all hoping and we maybe win it, then you can really build on that, get a squad in place that you can rotate game by game, and you can do it consistently. But at the moment, the jury's definitely out on that. I think at the moment it's hard to say that we can do it because we haven't seen it. And I think definitely when we're doing Thursday to Sunday, we've definitely seen a drop off in intensity. I think it's been very consistent drop off. I think that's definitely fair to say. So I think whether it's he has to rotate more or whether it's just unsustainable to play 2 games a week, I'm not sure, but definitely is a problem when we play Thursday, Sunday in keeping up that kind of tempo that we try to do. That's undoubtable for sure.
I guess the beauty of being shit all season, being that and the league season completely gone, is that we can really not worry about that kind of situation and just go hell for leather in the Europa League and rest our key players in the midweek games, because you saw, how well it did for Sonny and Maddison today. They didn't start on the weekend, and I think both of them were bang at it today. Another player that didn't start on the weekend was Lucas Bergvall, who I thought was incredible today. Yeah, I had Bergvall down as my man of the match today. I thought potentially his best performance in a Spurs shirt today.
Playing in the 6 as well in such an unbelievably important game for us. The responsibility he had on his shoulders to play that role. When we got the likes of Basuma on the bench, who obviously is a more experienced player, him starting in this kind of game when we know our season might have been over if we would have lost, he might have come into this. Other players of his age might have come into this game and been a bit more nervous, but he completely thrived in that position. I'm starting to think now, like after watching that, I'm like, I was doubting whether 6 is his real position long term. But I looked at that and I think maybe could he be our Gravenberch? Could he be a player in that position with high technical ability who's just got unbelievable engine that he does, and he's just got that ability to cover as much ground that he does. And when he gets involved in those duels, he's not scared. He doesn't kind of shirk those duels that he gets involved in. And then when he has the chance to basically take people on, drive into that space, that run he did in that second half when I think he drove past 3 players, just like he knocked it past 3 players and then set Spurs up on attack. I was just in awe of him watching that, and I thought, yes, he made them. I think, look, I haven't watched it back. I'm pretty sure he made a mistake for the goal we conceded.
He hit it into Odegaard and then it played them in. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a shame because it really, if people, it might distract people from what an incredibly dominant performance that was from him. It seemed as though any time the ball went near him, he was the one winning that challenge. He was the one winning the duel. No one was coming out second best. Everyone was coming out second best against him. No one was.
Jules he won today.
Well, there you go. I think that shows it. And I thought as well on the ball, the quality he showed, dribbling past people, the silkiness, the smoothness. It's such a delight to watch in that middle of the park. And I guess right now, I know Bentancur was suspended today, but is he going to be our 6th from now to the end of the season? I mean, it's hard to say. Hard to say he won't be. But obviously, where does that leave Bentancur? Where does it leave Basuma? I think those are big questions. But
in the mud,
on the bench.
Yeah, but obviously, Sarr obviously started in the 8 today. Even Gray came into the midfield at one point when Davis obviously came on. But Bergvall in the 6 today was something. I know we've seen him in the 6 in previous games and he's done well. But today was the first time I saw him in that position. I was like, this actually could be his position. Like this actually really suits him.
Sim, at the Bournemouth game, me and Ben were talking. We were saying that we actually think Bergvall probably could be our best number 6 given the current form of the players that we have in the squad available. And based on that today, I mean, obviously, from what I've seen of him, he looks like he's getting progressively better week in, week out. There's always little things you can see starting to see more of the way he's playing his game. I think now he's got to be our number 6 for the rest of the season because he's got the engine, he's got the ability, he's got the way he scans everything, his positional awareness. I just think he's the best out of what we've got right now. So I think that I can't see anyone else. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't going to be him, I'd probably rather see Archie Gray in that position given a try, especially in the Premier League, because we've got nothing to play for, than I would see Basuma or Bentancur because they've been shambolic. And even Sarr, I'd say to a point, has not been good in that role.
And you know, on top of that, 1 second, Sim, but on top of that, Sim, do you remember the debate that we were having with Josh King about Bergvall being a 6? Right, on the panel show, and you know we were saying, well, I don't know, I can't remember whose opinion was whose, but I said that day, you know, there's no reason why Bergvall can't play the 6, and he played pretty much the lone role in the 6 today, and I think today was your answer.
For sure, obviously. I'm not one to downplay a victory, but it was RZ. He is going to come up against more physical midfielders, more midfielders that ask him different questions. But today, the amount of ground he covered, the discipline he had, the fact that whenever he went into a duel, he was the one coming out on top, those are real brilliant markers for a player in that position. Now, obviously, the one down mark is he did make that mistake. And when you look at the top number 6s, they don't really make too many mistakes in those positions. So that is obviously something that people will pick up on. But when you look, the fact of the matter is he's still 19. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to learn from them. And he absolutely did. What was brilliant is he made that mistake and he didn't let it affect him. He absolutely kept up. He probably even kind of had that feeling about him that he had to make up for it. And he even got better, I thought, after that mistake, to be honest. I thought he was absolutely astonishing. So based on what I saw today, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him as a 6 more regularly. But he did, I think, the fact of the matter is he probably did only start there because Bentancur was suspended. I don't know if he would have started there if Bentancur wasn't. So if Bentancur was back, does he move Bergvall back to the 8 and Bentancur on the 6, or does he keep Bergvall there? That's a big question because let's be honest, Bergvall has been brilliant in the 8 as well. It's not just the 6 he's been good. So it's not just that he's been good in this position. But I would say I would agree with you, Ben. I do think this was his best performance in a Tottenham shirt, and it was in that position. But obviously, it was a game we were expected to dominate possession. It was a game where we obviously had to take the game to the opposition, and it was a game we were expected to win against opposition, which were, in terms of kind of the bookies and whatever, we were favourites. So in other games, like when we play against Frankfurt or Lazio or whatever against better teams, is Bergvall going to have that discipline? Is he going to be enough in those kind of games against better opposition to kind of be that lone six like he was today? Because today he was perfect. He was absolutely not just more than good enough. He thrived. I thought he dominated in the middle, and RZ couldn't handle it. When you come up against better opposition who ask different questions, maybe more physical players who pick up different positions, is that going to be too much for him to handle? I guess that remains to be seen. But today, he was absolutely phenomenal, and take nothing away from him today because he was my man of the match. I thought he was a near obviously, apart from that mistake, it was a near perfect kind of sixth performance from him. And it was not just a sixth performance, which was he didn't just like get on the pitch and not make mistakes, but he did so many wonderful things. He was so exciting to watch. It's very rare for a defensive midfielder to be as exciting to watch as someone like Bergvall was today. And I think we just got a star in the making on our hands. The level he's reached at such a quick point in time at such a young age is actually astonishing, and people should be taking more note of him. But if people want to, if he goes under the radar, that's all good for us because it means people are underappreciating and underestimating him. But I think he's an absolute phenomenon. I really think, and today was more evidence of that.
Agreed. Not something that Mr. Box Office will probably want to hear. But last question about the quarterfinal tie against Frankfurt. How do you fancy our chances? Obviously, they absolutely swept aside Ajax. Like they pretty much weren't there over the two legs. Very hard tie, isn't it?
Sim's booked his
very
ticket
hard
to Bilbao, hasn't he, already?
That's me.
Yeah, I've booked the ticket to Bilbao. I'm looking to fight for Frankfurt tonight. Hopefully, I'll have them booked by tonight. But yeah, Frankfurt, difficult tie. They're obviously done very well in this Europa League. I think they finished one place above us in the league, or they did very well in the league in the league phase. Obviously, you saw the struggle, the kind of struggle we've had against RZ, who are currently 5th or 6th in the Eredivisie. Ajax are currently walking their Eredivisie, or they're top. They're doing very well, and Frankfurt completely blazed past them like they were nothing. So they won 2-1 away, they won 4-1 at home. So that goes to show the difference in level and the increasing level that they're going to have. Obviously, they've lost Mamouche, who was their main player in the first half of the season. So that's obviously a massive benefit to us, but they're still clearly a very good team. They're still a very, very capable team. They've got some very good players there, and it's not going to be an easy tie whatsoever. This is going to be a different level of kind of opposition to what we've just faced. But what I would say is today we just got a little taste of what our team could look like again once Romero and Van de Ven are back fit and playing at their very best. And even today, Van de Ven couldn't even complete 90 minutes because we're still at the stage where we're managing his minutes. Hopefully, by the time the first leg's going to be 3.5 weeks away, 10th of April, by that time, if they're still obviously fit, I'm hoping that they're both at a stage they can both play 90 minutes, and we're at a stage where people like Solanke and Odegaard, people even forget them. Like they're still kind of getting up to speed with a lot of things. I know Solanke played another 90 minutes again today, and Odegaard even is just recently come back from injury. So I'm hoping by the time we're 10th of April, we've had a few games behind us. We'll have Sunday, and I don't know how many more games after the international break, which we'll have after Fulham. But I'm hoping we'll be in a much two more games. So I'm hoping we'll be in much better momentum. These players will be much more up to speed, and we'll be in a much better place physically to compete. I always thought today would be a bit of a struggle. I'm delighted we went through. I said before the game that I think the first half kind of showed it. We're still not quite there yet when it comes to being fully physically as intense as we want to be, as sharp as we want to be, as direct as we want to be. I think we saw glimpses of it in the second half once we grew into the game. But I still think it was just glimpses. It wasn't kind of a whole performance. And I'm hoping the more we play, the more games we play, by the time that Europa League comes again, we'll be in a much better place. That's what I was saying before the game. I feel like if we got through this tie, we will be... I can see us putting in much better performances in the later rounds. Not to say it's going to be easier because the level goes up, so it's still going to be a massive struggle. But if we can kind of build on today's performance, really take that momentum and keep Romero and Van de Ven fit, and as I said earlier in the season for Europa League, like how we were playing earlier in the season, if we can get to that level where away from home we're either kind of drawing or it's a narrow defeat, and then at home we can kind of really take the game to them, then we've got a real chance in this Europa League. I really believe that, and let's see where it takes us. We're still in it, quarterfinals. I know Ange, there's been a lot of pressure on him, a lot of questions about him, but he's made it through today. Obviously, the pressure then goes on to the quarters. If the same question will be about him in the quarters, let's be honest. If we go out in the quarters, the question will be:
if he
is
loses
he gone
to Frankfurt, are you Ange out?
That's the thing. That'll be the question. I think if you
It'll be Ange out, Sim in.
will I be Ange out if he loses to Frankfurt? It depends. It depends. If we're looking good in the league and we get unlucky, then maybe not. I think right now we're still not. The reason I was saying I was Ange out if we went out to RZ is because yes, the results have turned a bit in the league in terms of they're improving, but performances are still a bit iffy and they're not quite there yet. And if we go out to RZ and a Eredivisie team that we have to be beating, while performances are like that, then you have to say, I've got no confidence that this guy is leading us in the right direction. Now, if the performances start to turn in a positive manner like tonight in the league, and then if we go to Frankfurt and let's say we go out on penalties, it's unlucky, it's a close game, then I don't know if I'll be necessarily Ange out. But if we're continuing to play poorly in the league and then we go out in the Europa, then maybe I would be. It all depends on the context of the time. The context of the time of today is if we would have lost today, I would have been Ange out because of the context. But if Frankfurt, it just depends. Because it's a month's time. There's a lot of games to be played between now and then. So it just depends.
Just one question more for me. So with the current 11, the first 11 that play tonight, do you think that 11 has to stay fit in order for us to have a chance to win this tournament? Because for me, I feel if one player comes out of that team, the whole dynamic changes.
Yeah, I think obviously look at the bench tonight. We do have some good players. What was quite interesting was Tell yet again for the second game in a row didn't get any minutes, which is quite interesting considering he's on a loan deal. So I wonder if something's going on there with Tell. But I don't know if it has to be this team because obviously we've got Kulusevski hopefully coming back after the international break. So hopefully we find a place for him once he's fit and available. But I think it's very crucial for the likes of Maddison, for the likes of Solanke, for the likes of Mickey and Romero. I think those players are all very, very crucial to stay fit. If Oro picks up an injury, you can always play Spence and the doggy there. If Saar picks up an injury, you've always got Basuma or Bentancur or Bergvall can put in the 8 or Gray even. So I think there are certain players that we can replace them. But I think there are some players that are really crucial. And I think the centre-back partnership is the two of them. Maybe even the keeper, probably, is considering Kinski's not in the Europa League squad. I think Solanke is an absolute vital must. And I think Son just provides that kind of X factor or that quality in the front line. I know even today, look, I thought he had a good game. I don't think it was like his best game, but I think you just see the difference in the sharpness. You see the difference in how often he's running at players. You see the difference kind of in the first leg where when he gets the ball, he's not even running. He's just passing it back and he's not looking confident. Today, even if it didn't come off all the time, he's always taking him on. He's always looking to run at his defender. And if he runs at his defender, 5 times and gets past him 2 or 3, then he's done his job and gets delivery. And that's what he needs to do. So that was what I liked about Sonny today, even though it wasn't kind of quality-wise his best. But to answer your question, I wouldn't necessarily say the whole 11 has to stay fit, but there are some players like Maddison, Son, and the centre-back partnerships, and maybe even Bergvall you put into that category at this stage. They have to really stay fit if we've got a chance.
All right. Big up, Sim. We'll see you tomorrow to go through the nitty-gritties all over again and look forward to the
weekend.
And
I'm £20 up on Brains, by the way. £20 up. Let's go.
What was the bet?
Let's go. Well, we have 3 separate bets. One of them was One of them was Ange to be in charge for the Southampton games. I'm already taking that as a win. I will not be starting before Southampton unless we lose like 10-0 on Sunday, but even then. And the other 2 bets are Spurs to win the Europa or Spurs to finish 8th or higher. So I'm probably going to take the cash as right now as I can because I don't know about the next 2, but I've got 20 quid in the bank.
and just let the viewers know when you made that top 8 bet.
A few weeks ago. When did I make it? After the I think it was after the Ipswich game.
Shameless.
Oh,
absolutely
so shameless.
All right, Sim, thanks for coming on, mate. We'll see you later.
Let's go.